Hello and welcome to another Ask Nico Q&A where you send in your questions and I give you back answers. If you would like to get a question answered, you can put a comment in the video below, or you can send it to the Scarlet Moon Facebook page, or you can tweet at me at Scarlet Moon Nico. Next week I'm going to be on vacation, so no Q&A next week, okay? So the 14th, no Q&A, but I will be back the following week, of course. Also, we do have some spots available for the next Collaborative Consciousness Retreat going on in the UK. So if you would like to come out and see myself and Chris for a long weekend in August, we would love to have you there. You can follow the links below for more details. You can also email myself and Chris directly at tiptophealthcareltd@gmail.com. We are both accessible there. That's Chris's business page. Let's get started. Butterfly asks, for next time, parentheses, hopefully, what is the significance of retrograde planets in the natal chart? I just learned I have Jupiter, Neptune, Pluto, and Uranus retrograde in my natal chart. Wondering what that means. Thanks. I have Jupiter retrograde in my chart too. So, a retrograde can usually indicate where there may be some kind of, I guess you could say, some kind of hold-up, some kind of lack in the environment that kind of shaped you. Alright, now I want to say this to everybody, and we're going to be putting out a few videos on discipline here pretty soon. Our natal charts are there for us to grow into and or grow out of, so we always have choices, okay? Sometimes Jupiter retrograde and Neptune retrograde, etc., they can be assets or liabilities depending on how they're respected. But usually it does indicate that what makes that planet is working at half power. So when Jupiter's retrograde, it's the planet of wealth, abundance, happiness, security, good luck, and expansion. What can happen if Jupiter's retrograde, depending on where it is in your chart, again guys, more importantly, where it is in your chart, it can show us where that would be lacking. Mine was in my 4th house, and I did have a fairly impoverished upbringing, so that makes a lot of sense for me. Find out where these planets are in your chart. Also, pay attention to how you've grown out of them, or if you have not grown out of that. I will have to do a video on this though, because this is a really, really big topic, and I don't think I could answer all your stuff for your chart right here. That's the gist. Well, actually, I probably want to do that here pretty soon. Lovely Soul asks, you mentioned that you do different astrology for monthly versus dailies. Can you clarify, please? I find that an interesting practice. Well, basically, when we are doing monthlies, monthly astrology is for a specific sign, and therefore houses are more relevant. So that means when I say, I don't know what sign you are, but let's just say assume you're a Pisces. Well, if I'm doing a reading for Pisces, then Pisces, their natural second house is going to be Aries. Whereas for the whole world, with, more of a geocentric, mundane, global astrology, which is basically what the dailies are, then that doesn't really happen. Does that make sense? The house system does apply to a certain degree, but it's more about what sign the planets are in that's giving off the energy, because obviously the houses are breaking it down as they get to the individual. So the dailies are kind of like a forecast for the planet, and the monthlies are a forecast for the sign, and a natal chart reading would be a forecast for you. I hope that makes sense. Pleiadian Princess asks, I'm not really rude. I am a nice person, honestly. I am upfront, honest, and responsible as a seller around, and this is because I take all of my work seriously. Oh, now she goes into caps. You know what happens when you write in all caps? Too many people are inconsiderate of my time and my money. I work hard and I am human just like everyone else. Leo Sun, Leo Rising, Gemini Moon. I feel I am the only one in my community with a thirst for any real knowledge, and I feel my intuition is on point. I do have high standards and people take that personally. I'm a Leo and I have to be honest and about having better taste than most. Insight? That doesn't count as a question, you egomaniac! And I don't know what kind of insight to give to that. When you just kind of dump a bunch of that and that. Especially. Alright, next. Alright. Monica Lopez. Hi Nico, I hope you're having a good evening. That's a good start. I have Jupiter in my ascendant, 1st house. Does this Jupiter represent my husband/partner in astrology? If so, what will this person be like? Thank you, and I enjoy your videos. I've never, it all depends. I've not really seen Jupiter represent the husband. I usually see Mars as representing the husband. But that depends on from person to person. I would honestly say that it probably does not. That doesn't necessarily say that you couldn't see your husband in your chart. Depending on, what you're into, guys or girls, looks like guys, this would be, I would definitely look at the Mars to tell you a little bit more about, what your partner's going to be like. You can also see what your partner's going to be like by looking at what sign rules your 7th house, or maybe even your 5th house. Find out where your Mars is, and, how that might even relate to your Jupiter. But Jupiter in your sign is actually more of a blessing to you than it is to, to talk a little bit more about the husband, if that makes sense. Alright, next. Alright. Monica Lopez. Hi, Nico. I hope you're having a good evening. That's a good start. I have Jupiter in my ascendant, 1st house. Does this Jupiter represent my husband/partner in astrology? If so, what will this person be like? Thank you, and I enjoy your videos. I've never, it all depends. I've not really seen Jupiter represent the husband. I usually see Mars as representing the husband. But that depends on from person to person. I would honestly say that it probably does not. That doesn't necessarily say that you couldn't see your husband in your chart. Depending on, what you're into, guys or girls, looks like guys, this would be, I would definitely look at the Mars to tell you a little bit more about, what your partner's going to be like. You can also see what your partner's going to be like by looking at what sign rules your 7th house, or maybe even your 5th house. Find out where your Mars is, and, how that might even relate to your Jupiter. But Jupiter in your sign is actually more of a blessing to you than it is to, to talk a little bit more about the husband, if that makes sense. This is Hell asks, Nico, I have a feeling the Earth might be flat. What do you think? It's probably not flat. I don't really think that we could be the only non-round planet in the solar system. I'm not on that. I have not seen sufficient evidence to that theory, other than no evidence. I mean, when you think about satellites, that carry signals and television signals and all kinds of things like that, I mean, and they are there. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to have half the crap we do. If they weren't there, I mean, what would they be orbiting if the Earth were flat? So that's kind of what I see going on there. Maya Jorgensen asks, Hi Nico, here's a question for you for your Q&A. I can't seem to Google my way to an answer. How do you interpret the general/universal transit of planets to houses compared to transits in a natal chart? An example to explain what I mean. God, you're good. Thank you. Saturn is transiting the 12th house from Sagittarius now. That is correct. But in my natal chart, it is transiting the 11th house from my ascendant in Sagittarius. Oh. Do you then have to look up the information for transits for both houses? And the same for the sun sign. She's a Virgo. And which house readings are more important? General or natal? I always wonder, okay. Stop you right there, because I think I got it. Thank you, by the way. That was actually, that was well framed. I would definitely always look at the sun sign and the natal. I would not do general. General is kind of like the first question we asked in this video, where it's a little bit more like the world, the globe. I would do I would do natal and for the sun sign. So you would go by your Virgo, so we know that Saturn is currently in the 3rd for Virgo. And yes, even though you have a Sagittarius ascendant, it can still be your 11th house, Scorpio. Because again, your houses will change, in a lot of systems the houses will be uneven. Or you'll have intercepted houses where, a house will be occupied by more than one sign. So it sounds like your 11th house is Scorpio and something else, or you just have a really tiny small 12th house. But I would say that I would go with the natal and then do the sun. That would be more important to me. Natal is most important. That's why I'm always telling people you gotta know your birth date, time, and location. And if you don't know your birth time exactly, that's okay. Just make sure that you get it within 30 minutes before or after. It should be fine. It's when people kind of say like, oh, sometime between 6 and 3, then we've kind of got a problem. But if we can do it, if we can get it within 30 minutes, it should be okay. So I hope this answered your question. Because it was actually a really good question. So, but that's pretty much it, guys, for the Q&A for this week. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. And if you'd like to learn about tarot from me, we are still doing open registration for classes till Thursday. I'll talk to you later.